What's up guys, MainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always, and welcome to the top 5 characters main man feels should be buffed in Tekken 7. And on the list at the top we have Gigas. You probably already know why, but I'm gonna get into details on all of these characters. Then we have Negan from The Walking Dead, Lars Alexandersson, Swedish Meatball, Anna Williams, and Yoshimitsu Cyborg Ninja. So let's start with Gigas. This character is the most obvious example in Tekken 7 of a character that's just lacking a little bit. He's not lacking a lot, it's much more about player skill level in Tekken 7 rather than character, because it's just such a balanced game, it really is. But if we're allowed to complain a little bit, I'm gonna complain about Gigas, because when you play him and when you understand the character, it's like, god damn it, it feels a little bit with fighting with one arm tied behind your back. And I don't want to exaggerate, he's no prototype Jack from Tag 1, who literally is an unplayable garbage character. Everyone can compete in Tekken 7, but Gigas is weaker than other characters. He has so few things going for him. It's like, he's huge, big hitbox, can't really sidestep. He doesn't have any panic moves. His pressure isn't even that good. But he has a few tools, like an interesting rage drive, a 1-2 10 frame punish that really stands out, it's great. His down 2 is a bit like Jack's 15 frame, launcher. But overall, I feel like this character is in need of an overall buff. I'm not even gonna write specifics, because I feel like they could probably buff a couple of moves a little bit, and it would greatly help him, and it wouldn't make him, over the top or anything. They could buff that guy a little bit. And then we have Negan, who's the guest from The Walking Dead. Based on Jeffrey Dean Morgan's performance in his cutscenes, intro, win pose, he's badass. Jeffrey Dean Morgan does the voice. So cool to have such a story-driven series give a character to Tekken. It's like the first ever, and it was so hype with Negan. And I still remember playing him for the first time. You can watch this video on my YouTube. I go through his move list and I thought he was broken. I was like, oh, it seems so good. But you should never go on first impressions, because then you play the game and you're like, well, everything is steppable. He has no tracking at all, basically. And he's so clunky. His strings have a lot of openings. How do you use intimidation stance? Mostly by doing down forward 4-2. But that's a very bad string that we got away with because the character was new. But it's so slow. It's mid-high and then people duck the high. Intimidation stance overall isn't that scary in my opinion. But he's so steppable and his frames are bad. So honestly, on Negan, I'm also gonna write overall buff. And it tells you all you need to know that on his release weekend, he was played, I think 50% of my matches the coming 5 days was a Negan. Now, no one plays him. And as Nee said after using him in a tournament, Negan sucks. And yeah, he does. He's just bad. And now we are at Lars, who got some nice pressure buffs and some frame buffs in Season 2. And now he could do his Hell Sweep from Silent Entry, it is, right? And back one knocks down, and wall splats on counter it. He got some very needed buffs, but I still feel the Swedish man should get another buff. Maybe not down for 2 back, the old one, because that was too over the top. But something that fixes his problem with people stepping him towards the right. It's such a huge weakness. And down for 2-1 is too risky to check people who do that. And all of his other homing moves are not that strong in my opinion. So some tool to fix weakness to Oh, you can almost read that. Fix the sidestep right weakness. To me it would be really nice if we already buffed back one, did even more on counter hit. I mean, it doesn't have to launch, but maybe knock them down into a guaranteed follow-up, like down 1+2 or something, would be pretty cool in my opinion. But they can do whatever they want, but I feel like Lars needs a little buff, preferably something fixing his enormous weakness that is people stepping him towards the right. And yet you're probably, many of you, especially those of you who are beginner, intermediate, maybe even going up towards high level, you might be surprised I have Anna on this list. Because she's very easy to play, she's very beginner oriented, high risk, high reward, she completely blows you up if you don't know the defense against her. So you might be watching this and you're like, Anna is bullshit. And she can absolutely be bullshit. And especially she has the best snake edge in the game with a very deceptive animation. And I think it's 27 frames fast. It's super annoying, especially online. It's like impossible to deal with. But once you get to higher ranks with Anna, her super inconsistent hitboxes and combos suddenly pose a big problem, and she's so hard to play safe. Literally everything is so unsafe, and that, you know, that could be a design decision on the team, on the character, but I think they should go more towards Tekken 5 DR Anna, which most of you probably have never seen, but it was a character that had slightly better fundamental tools. So, you know, pokes that actually worked rather well, you know, that didn't put her at enormous risk at all times. So I feel like a fundamental, just not giving her some. And now I'm writing like this because safer tools can mean a lot of things, but she could use something to make her a little bit more competitive when it comes to high level. I think she can keep the beginner, intermediate, semi-high level stomp, you know, just destroying people who don't understand how to deal with her. But I feel like she lacks tools to be a competitive character in the end. So this could be a design decision by Bandai Namco, but I feel that's the way they should go with the character, in my opinion. More Tekken 5 DR Anna. And with Yoshimitsu, I'm just gonna do the exact same thing. He's a crazy party mode character, and he will obliterate you in 2 seconds, and you have no idea what's going on. It's like, oh, what's happening? And you can destroy great players with Yoshimitsu just doing bullshit. And half the time I feel like taking Yoshi players, you know, and giving them a bit, no, I'm not gonna punch anyone. But it can be really annoying playing against the character. But then when you play the character yourself, you realize that I'm completely forced to play the party style because his fundamental tools, that's poking, staying safe, playing honest Tekken, you know, punishing, poking, he is terrible at that. Terrible. And that's, of course, that's the design of a character. They want you to go party, but in my opinion, he could have slightly better fundamental tools without, you know, breaking the character. He doesn't need fundamental tools like Kazumi or Kazuya, you know, like extreme examples. But they're so bad, just buff them a little bit. You will still be the party character, but he could have just a little bit better and more solid fundamental tools. So that was me discussing top 5 buffs. I just want to say overall that this is the absolutely most important one, Gigas. Negan, in my opinion, he's going to get buffed, I think, in coming patches. The rest of them are like, yeah, I think they should get a buff, but it's not life and death, in my opinion. Although, yeah, Lars' weakness to sidestep right is an enormous weakness. It's like a big hole in him. So those are my top 5 buffs. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wonder what your opinions are. Please share with me. Sometimes I do read the YouTube comments, and sometimes I actually learn quite a bit. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.